So to be honest, when Caitlin Foster asked me to do this speech, I was a little bit apprehensive. Because I think that when the coordinators of this event at Lawrence Public Library asked me to do this, when they heard that I was a female that lifts, when anybody hears, about a girl that lifts, they expect to hear, the struggle of a girl that did a male-dominated field. I guess they expect to hear, about being some warrior woman fighting the patriarchy or whatever. But in reality, I've been extremely lucky. I've never had anybody tell me that I can't do it, that it's unusual or unfeminine to lift. All of my friends, all of my family have been extremely supportive, and my trainers have been with me the entire time. So I guess that before I actually get into the speech, I should talk about what lifting is, because that's generally a little bit helpful for most people. So the principle of powerlifting is pretty simple. It challenges athletes to lift the most they can in 3 different categories: bench press, back squat, and power clean. I understand that language doesn't resonate with a lot of you, and so it would probably be pretty useful for me to pantomime that. But that would be super awkward, so I'm not going to do that. If you're really that curious, just go on the internet. It's great. So anyways, if you can recall that thing I said 90 seconds ago about being supported and having a positive environment, I wish that was enough. Because even if people weren't telling me what I was doing wasn't acceptable, I was sort of becoming my own worst enemy. Lifting's sort of a weird sport to be a part of, just because there's no Alex Morgan and there's no Serena Williams to look up to. And there's so many cool female powerlifters out there. There's a lot of talent in the sport, but you don't see them on TV. People don't know who they are. And so anytime I tell people that I powerlift, it's almost always accompanied by a definition of what powerlifting is. And I'm sure that resonates with some of you, but for those of you that do, strictly recognize things, I can tell you that it's pretty awkward to have to narrow down something you spend all of your free time doing into one sentence. If somebody asked a soccer player, hey, what's soccer? I don't know how well that would go over. And it's kind of difficult because I'm not what people expect to see a competitive weightlifter look like. I am not a man and I'm not quite large. So that's, I've kind of run into some opposition with that. People are not willing to see that immediately. But I can't blame them because I found that I struggle with the same perceptions. Initially when I started going to meets, the only people that were hitting my weights were the bodybuilder sort, which is a term that I struggle with personally, but I'll get to that later. They didn't look like they were able to run or jump or do anything that a normal 17-year-old kid wants to do. And that scared me because I thought that just because I hadn't seen anybody like me who likes to be a functional lifter, that likes to, play soccer and lift, that I couldn't do that because there weren't other people out there like me. So I began to shy away from the sport entirely. It bothered me a lot, but thank God for my trainers. Like Ramona said, I train at the Next Level downtown, and with my trainer Angela Finch, and everybody there has just given me these opportunities that I cannot possibly repay. And they're absolutely the reason that I continue to lift, because, the one specific time that comes to mind is this summer when I was training for a national qualifying meet, and I was on the fence about even going, just because I was so concerned about not being the right kind of athlete. But so I was telling Dan about this. I was like, hey, I want to play other sports, and I don't know if this is going to let me. And what he said was pretty abridged. It was pretty simple, but it made a big impact. He told me to just go for it, because I'm one of the few people that's going to be very good at this. And nobody was telling me not to do it, and nobody was telling me to do it. And this is the only time I would regret it if I didn't do it. And I am unbelievably happy that he did that. And for that, and for countless other reasons, I am one of the luckiest people I know. And the reason why I want to share this with you, why this is applicable to you, and why it's worth your time to listen to this, is because I'm lifting because I learned to go without the validation of representation. I learned a lot from lifting, but I think the most important thing I learned was that you're not always going to be good at what other people are good at, and that sometimes it's going to take you a long time to find out what you excel at. I'm a fair lifter, I'd like to think. It took me a long time to find the sport, though. Like, I guess I started like really lifting between my freshman and sophomore year, so I was like 15 years old. By that time, I had tried 8 different sports. And it took me a season of getting elbows shoved in my face in basketball and jumping my height over hurdles to figure out I should probably find something different. But powerlifting, being 5 feet tall and lifting is fantastic. I have really short appendages, so it's like you're not really moving the weight that much. It's good. But anyways, so there are 3 sorts of principal movements that are important for many lifts called the triple extension. Okay, so the 3 movements are you have to shrug your shoulders, bring your elbows through, and be up on your toes. And again, when I enumerate those just like that, it sounds a little bit ridiculous. It makes sense when you like actually act it out, but again, it would be exceedingly awkward if I did it on stage. That's where the internet comes in handy if you're really wondering. But anyways, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. So similarly, I would like to iterate like the 3 important things, or like the triple extension of pioneering something new. First, you need to be self-assured. This is a little bit like the shoulder shrug, but I'll get to that part later. You can be really good at something that nobody else really recognizes, but you need to be self-assured. Because if you're gonna look for validation from society, chances are you're not going to succeed. And that's a damn awful way to not do something you could be really good at. And given that I have had all sorts of representation in my life, from being, white and being middle class, I've never really had another athlete that has been able to do the same things that I could do. Aside from, my trainers and a couple of guys at work, I can't really tell anybody, nobody understands what I'm going through. I can't talk about this sport with my teammates. It's so much different than playing a team sport, which was the only experience I had before this. And I found that sometimes you're the only one that knows what the hell you're talking about or what the hell you're doing, and sometimes not even you know that, and that's terrifying. But you'll figure it out. And once you do that, you'll find that you've done something pretty extraordinary. Like the shoulder shrug, which I was talking about, it's sort of a fundamental piece of going through something new. If you don't know you can change what you can change, no one does. And not to be that motivational poster that was hanging up in your 7th grade science teacher's room, but the first step to succeeding is actually knowing you can do it. And I feel like such a dork for saying that, so you guys can laugh. It's okay. I understand. And second, be adamant about how you're addressed and treated. This is sort of like getting the elbows through, but again, I'll get to that at the end. For example, which is a weird personal thing, I don't put up with people calling me a bodybuilder. It's not as an interchangeable term and not as a joke. It bothers me personally because it insinuates that what I do is not an exhibition of of what my body can do, but rather how it looks. Because apparently a girl can only work out if it benefits her physical appearance. But the real question is, guys, why would I lift if I just wanted to benefit my physical appearance? I could look too manly. How would a boy even like me? I'd be defeating my entire purpose. What would I be doing? Oh my God. So I stop people there. My friends totally make fun of me for it. But if I don't make that correction, nobody will. And I'm sure everybody has those little things, because what you do is cool and important too. So don't let people minimize it, even as a joke. And you can totally write it off and you can laugh at it, but it's going to nag at you in your sleep, and that's gonna suck. So you don't need to be aggressive with people, just be persistent and be adamant. Like I said, I clarify what powerlifting is a lot, and that's okay. I compare this to getting the elbows through because even if it isn't totally necessary for that first ascent, without it, you're not really getting anywhere good. Even if sometimes it feels like you're acting within a vacuum, you really aren't. You need to make sure that your influences are good. And even if you need to let the people that you love know how to support you, because even if they don't know what you're going through, they need to know that they can be there for you. And I think that outside strength, as much as I wish this wasn't true, or strength from other people, is what's going to make or break a lot of endeavors. And so my final piece of advice or movement is to not let the unknown discourage you. This is what gives your endeavor power, like getting up on the toes during clean. It makes everything that you do more effective and gives you the agency to accomplish much more. Just because you don't see your role model on ESPN or on the cover of Time doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't important and that there isn't a place for you. Not to say that the world isn't perfect and that you won't be oppressed or obstructed. Those of you who want to do something new are alive in the perfect time. Not only are we living in a world where different lifestyles are becoming more socially acceptable, but mediums to share our talents and our thoughts are just so much more expansive. You're in a world that can support you through your endeavor more than it ever could before. And man, with social media, you could be your own representation. There are so many options. So a couple of minutes ago, I thought this was sort of a weird one, so I wanted to give an example. So one I came up with was show choirs. So I feel like if 10 years ago you said you were a part of a glee club, you would be a dork. But I don't know that. But then there were shows like Glee, and there is, Facebook, where there are tons of videos of people doing a cappella groups, and suddenly show choir was the cool thing. So personally, I use my social media to write snide remarks and take pictures of my turtle. But you can use it for something better. You can actually utilize it. So I'm going to leave you guys with a very classic TED rhetorical question. What's your excuse? You go out there and you do what you're good at. And if you don't know what you're good at yet, try everything until you find it, because that's half the fun. And the only person that can stop you is you, and don't let yourself be the only roadblock to your personal advancement. Thank you.